How are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thanks.
Cool,
Sorry
cool.
about the technical
No issue.
difficulty. Crazy
No
thing
worry.
is, I actually practiced this with my mom on her
Yeah,
laptop, and it worked perfect. And I don't know if that's where I got the links wrong, but what can we do?
we're here now. That's all that counts.
Absolutely. Happy Valentine's Day. I mean,
Thank you very much.
um,
Ditto.
how? Thank you. Yeah. What? Do you have anything exciting planned later, or have I
No,
stolen
in
the
this
free
in this
time of the
household,
day?
it's hashtag not Valentine's Day. So
Ooh,
we kick against the commercial stuff, and the girls. So three teenage girls at high school, and I think I remember for myself when I was at school. Then I used to hate Valentine's. It was amazing when
yeah.
you had a girlfriend or there was somebody special, but if there wasn't, it was like hate it, want to avoid it. So so we just said to the girls, yeah, just not doing it. So yeah, and yourself?
Oh, so to be honest with you, I've got two Valentines now. Obviously, my wife and then a little girl. Um, so so as she gets older, then I think my wife's gonna have to take a step back, and then we'll do the little dad and daughter dates.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how the day goes, and then I got my goodies this morning, so I'll have to give. I'll give everything this afternoon. But yeah, no, all good. I can't complain.
Cool.
I really appreciate you coming on. Um, Super stoked when someone that you don't know if you're gonna see the DMs or anything like that, and then when you do have time in your diary, it's always a privilege.
Thank
But
you for having me.
obviously, most of this is sort of real estate orientated, or most of the guests I think I'll always have. But you do have a background in real estate. Um, and just for everyone who gets to listen, could you touch on that? I know you were head of training for Pam Golding, but you were an actual agent in the beginning as
Mm.
well.
Yeah.
And what was that like?
So yeah, like most agents, it's the job that you don't pick. Real estate picks you.
Yeah,
And I know that's changed quite a lot with some of the younger people coming through actually wanting to go and study property and go and study, and normally that's sort of commercial or broking. But essentially, real estate very often is that thing that comes along when there's nothing else. Like you suddenly find yourself in a position where you need to earn money, you need to replace the salary, and real estate being an agent is easy. You can do it in your spare time. You make a lot of money with very little effort. Yeah, it's great. So the lure, I mean, you can in fact you can do real estate as like a side hustle and do incredibly well and still keep like your real job. It's that kind of
yeah,
thing. Whatever. But anyway, and that's what lures us in. So I was no different. It was 2002. I had a really successful swimming school called the Right Stuff Swim School,
yeah.
and Virgin Active took over from Health and Racket back in those days. And about a year after they took over, they renewed our tenancy agreements, and our rental went up by about 300%, and we lost 43% of our clientele because we were no longer allowed to teach or coach anybody who was a non-member. And my wife and I, that was our thing. So one of us had to go out there and get a real job, and I'm not qualified. So it was okay. What am I gonna do that's going to replace the income, because I had a nice income, and just become an agent. It
Yeah.
was like that. But I was very fortunate to learn from one of the best, somebody incredibly, incredibly good. It was a tough 5 years of my life, but a really good 5 years. So the first 5 years of my real estate career, I sold on average 54 houses per year for the first 5 years. It was really amazing. It was a crazy time. And then went down to Port Elizabeth and joined Pam Golding Properties. I ran the sales team in Johannesburg for the company I was with. Then went down to PE, ran the sales team. Then ended up running the branch, and then was offered the job of training. So I took over the training academy for 7.5 years. So it was an amazing time. It was great because I was part of a branch, part of a franchise, Asian myself, really understood how it worked, understand how agents work, how they don't work, and how best to help them to succeed.
And what was that like? The transition from agent to trainer. Was it fairly seamless? I know you've got a great passion for now, especially for speaking and sharing and inspiring. Do you think that was sort of like the underlying thing that's
Yeah.
ultimately
Jared,
you?
so Jared, it's been a common thread throughout my life. So I mean, as I said, the swim school, I was a coach. So I've had some kind of coaching, training, mentoring role for years and years and years. I'm a bit of a bonsai fanatic. And I used to do quite a lot of demonstrating, traveling around South Africa, been to the States, demonstrating. Something I picked up again now and also started demonstrating. And that's the same thing. You're coaching, you're teaching, you're mentoring people. So there's always been that thread. And I think that's why even when I was just an agent, I couldn't just be an agent. I then moved into a selling training role. And then same thing for Elizabeth. And that's just kind of it's just me. So it was pretty seamless. But for quite a while after that, I really missed the cash injection of needing some extra money to do something, wanting to go away and just work a little bit harder, do a decent deal, and a chunk of money comes in. But I didn't miss the roller coaster ride of when money doesn't come in, or money that takes a lot of time to come in. So that's the that's the hustle. So there are parts even now. I mean, there are parts that I miss. I love the negotiation. I love the putting a deal together. I really, really enjoy people and human behavior, but that's what I do now. I mean, that's my thing. So it's all linked, but there's certain things that I don't know that I ever want to do again from a real estate point of view, because it's a tough hustle. It's a really, really tough hustle. In fact, I often say to people, you became a real estate agent. What did you do so wrong in a previous lifetime that you landed up here? It's one of the hardest jobs. It really is. It's one of the toughest jobs. There are no guarantees. There's zero income. There's no protection. Nobody's looking after you. There's it's 100% risk. You've got no leave. You've got no. There's nothing. And you're only as good as the number of people that you know, the number of people that trust you, and the number of people that like you. That's it. Yet there's been this idea over the last 10 years or so that real estate really can happen from behind a desk and a computer, because people want digital and they've got all these digital innovations. And I think that's absolute tripe, actually. I don't know that real estate is ever going to move away from the personal interaction and the relationships, and it's trust. So, get out there.
The biggest thing. I mean, it's even, I had a conversation with someone the other day, and I saw it on Instagram, and it sort of really resonates. But it's people you trust, and it's not even just the seller or the buyer. It's colleagues in and around the industry now more than ever. If you don't have a good relationship with someone, you're really just hurting yourself, because if you at some point are going to need to call on them, whether it's to go through their listing, whether it's to invite them through one of yours, because as we do kind of compete against the internet, but it's not often. You've got to have those face-to-face sort of relationships where you can call on each other and support each other, because without us and without the trust equity, there's no industry. But that being said, I think the biggest sort of plus for us is social media, because people are able to follow your story, engage with you. They know you maybe before they know you. They can check you out. They can see you maybe not a hooligan, or maybe they are looking for a hooligan. So they'll see it on your Facebook or Instagram. And it's easier to build that relationship. But I don't think it's going to be a long time before we ever replaced by a machine, because
I don't think we will.
Conversation.
Yeah, I don't think we will. So if you think about it, Jared, so when I started real estate 2002, it was before websites, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember way back then, it was about 2003, 2004. This new company arrived. Amazing. Only it wasn't for us. We were like, what? We're done. We're dead. We're history. Why? Because for 900 South African rands, right? For 900 bucks, this company was offering you as a seller a unique listing number, which corresponded with an ad on their website. They had a website, right? Not many people did. So you've got a unique listing number. It's on the website. They'll put a for sale sign outside with your unique listing number on it. In your local newspaper, Caxton's newspaper, they will advertise for you, right? Pointed boards for your show houses, show boards, all of that for 900 bucks. And then they'll even provide a contract, etc., when your buyer arrives. If you want them to step in and help to negotiate, I think for less than half of the original amount, they're going to chip that in. Like, sorry, $900, and this, they're basically doing everything. The marketing, the website, the board, everything. And the name of that company was, before your time, Jared, any guesses?
I have no idea. Was it Remax?
Private property. Private
Oh,
property. So we were like, no way. Who's going to want an estate agent now? Because here's this thing for $900. So that's 2003, 2004. And that's it's important that we acknowledge this. Since that time, a seller has not needed an estate agent, a person, to sell his or her home. They haven't. Their companies, their portals, and private property didn't make it. So they had to then pivot and become this portal. And if you had to ask them if they could have one thing back, I'll tell you what it is. They hate the name. They would love that to be changed. I can tell you that for free, because that's the last thing you want as a portal. But it's too big. It's grown. I'm not going to change that now. But that was a bad mistake. But anyway, they're laughing now.
They've adjusted,
But it's never been easier. Right now in these times, throughout COVID, think about it. If ever there was a catalyst that said, hey, let's get rid of the agent because agents can't do anything, I've got to sell my house. Let's get rid of the agent. If ever there was a catalyst, it should have been over the last 2 years. But real estate, especially in South Africa, has seen a boom over the last 2 years. There's seen a drastic incline. So what is that about? And that's the part that agents just seriously battle to get. It's about the relationship. It's about trust. So you've mentioned social media now. And again, I think that social media has become a crutch. If I can just get social media accounts and I can get my numbers up and I can start putting reels and putting stuff there, the people are going to come. Really? Why am I going to follow you? Seriously, why am I going to follow you? Why must I be friends with you? You're an estate agent? And so what? What do you, why must I be friends with you? Why must I come and engage with you? Why must I follow your account? Why? If I've got two choices between Jared Jeffrey, who's Jared, and Jared is a father and a husband, and he's got interests and hobbies, and he also does real estate, and he shares his life, and I see some of the things that link in with mine, or I've got the option to follow Jared, who is the estate agent, and all that I see is, hey, do you want to buy this? Hey, can I sell this for you? Hey, look how good I am. Hey, look how successful I am. Do I want to follow that person? Hell no, I'd rather see pins in my eyes. So I want to follow the human being. You've got to create that story. But that doesn't happen online.
Do you know what's crazy? It's you just got to be you. So I had a really cool talk with it's a Canadian agent, and he's been doing it for about 5 or so years now. He's part of the broke agents also in the States, and he was saying for the first 3 years he literally just did whatever was expected of him. Like you wore the suit, you did the cold call, you followed up until they told you not to follow up anymore. But then there was a shift, I think, in his 3rd year where it's just like, screw it, I'm just going to be me. And if you don't like it, that's okay, because someone will. And his business has exploded. And that's something I think I've also done is there's no gimmick. There can't be, because ultimately you're working with people you know or someone who knows you. So you can't be this guy and then arrive. Where's the camera? This guy. They'll be like, the hell is going on here? And I mean, you do it extremely well. I don't think there's just you, and I think that's why people gravitate towards you. Like if I watch your bonsai stuff, especially, it makes me want to get a bonsai tree. But we did get one. My mom got my wife and I one as when we moved in together, and it did super well for a very long time. But then we eventually donated it to someone that would take better care of it, because it was hard work. I don't know how you do it with all yours, but but watching you makes me want to get more. I also showed her your guys' garden project you did, and she was like, nice. What about that like front verge that we said we were gonna do? Just plant something.
So there are two things there, and thank you very much for that compliment. So there are two things. Firstly, authenticity is got to be your calling card as an agent. Authenticity, even when you're delivering an evaluation, when you are just even meeting people for the first time, it doesn't matter. So essentially your title as a real estate agent, and some people is gonna jar a little bit, but you are a professional chameleon. And some people are like, well, chameleon, that's like like a scaly, it's a bit like a snake, right? No, not at all. Just follow me. So if I have a chameleon, the chameleon is sitting on this mug, it's green, and the chameleon is green because it blends in, right? And then it climbs into my shoulder, and now it goes a much darker color, black, to blend in, right? So when the chameleon transitioned from the one item to the other item, did it become a snake? No, it stayed a chameleon. It's exactly the same mammal, right? Nothing changed besides the color on the outside, because it needs to blend in with its environment so that it can survive, and if it can survive, it can thrive. And it's the same thing as a real estate agent. Your job is to blend in, but not by becoming somebody you're not, just by becoming who the other person needs. In other words, I need to be able to relate to you. I need to somehow pick up a connection as quickly as possible in a way that helps you to understand I'm an authentic, really nice human being, and you can trust me. And that can't be inauthentic. So the first thing is authenticity, and that really, really, really is key. And I think for me, going through my cancer journey, being told that your time on this planet is limited, all of a sudden you don't have to be anything for anybody else, because why would you? You've got 6 months to live, and why would you want to be anything for anybody? So that really was a gift. It was I'm not going to be anything I don't want to be. I'm not going to do anything I don't want to be. I'm not going to see anybody I don't want to see. And I soon realized that actually people relate a lot more to that. In fact, they relate a lot more to vulnerability and honesty as well. And honesty is this thing that it's so easy to see through somebody who isn't. So that's the first thing, and that's really, really, really important. And the second thing you hit on was bonsai. So it's like anything in life. If you dabble in it, you're never going to be good at it. You're gonna miss more than you're gonna hit. But when you throw yourself into something completely, and for me, I'm that kind of guy. And it used to bug me that I was, because people used to criticize me sometimes that, Richard, you're all or nothing. It's like, where's the middle with you? Surely there should be some balance. No, there isn't any balance. So if you're in my life, man, you're all in. If you're out, well, you're all out. But you're all in, and you've got all of me. And the same thing. So whether it's gardening, whether it's bonsai, whether it's real estate, whether it's coaching, whether it's speaking, whether it's Ironman, triathlon, it doesn't matter. You got to be all in. And here's the thing with all in. And you said, I don't know how you do, because, it must be hard work or whatever. So number one, there's scale. And it's the same thing with real estate. If you've got one client, you're spending a lot of time looking after this client and doing these things. But if you had 10 clients, a lot of those things you're doubling up. You're sending the same email to 10 people instead of just one. And it's the same thing with the bonsai. I water them with a hose pipe, with a sprinkler, So it's not like just like one little and then it's hard. Those things are hard when you're trying to look after them like that. They need full sun and tons of water and fertilizer. But when you do it at scale, then all of a sudden, it's the same thing as real estate. And you hit it on with that guy from Canada as well. It's at least 2 years grind before you get to the point where there's some flow. And people are starting to talk about you and refer to you, and you start to grow. But and in those 2 years, and this is the hard thing about real estate, you don't feel like you're getting anywhere. It's like nothing's happening. I'm doing all this stuff, and you're getting rejection. And with bonsai, it's similar, believe it or not. The first couple of years, it doesn't feel like you. But you look at the pictures after 2 years of the first ones you took, and you're like, wow, this thing has changed, because you've done these little incremental things, watering every day, turning the trees every couple of weeks, fertilizing, protecting, whatever it is. You've done these little things over and over and over and over and over again. And it's exactly the same thing in real estate. It's the little stuff. So, I know I'm speaking a lot. Sorry. So last thing now on this thread, and that is that it's the same as my Ironman journey. It's the same as the bonsai journey. Real estate is all activity based. And it's how much of this thing is going to get me that thing. And how much of that thing is going to get me that thing. And how much of that thing is going to get me that thing. So if I know how much money I want to earn per month, and I can work that, I do my light stones or my property reports or whatever they are, and I figure out what the churn in my area is, 6 properties per month, and I figure out what the average sales price is, and I figure out what the com is, then I can have a look at the kind of market share I'm looking at, and then I kind of figure out, is that viable? How much money do I want to earn? And then how many How much do I need to keep in my books to be able to make those number of sales per month? And what do I need to do to get that, those properties on my books? And track it back to, okay, I wake up today. What does my calendar look like? What do I need to do today? How many phone calls do I need to make? How many doors do I need to go and knock on? How many people do I need to speak to in the coffee shop or at the school or whatever it is? And that is real estate. So with that, that thing you mentioned, there's no magic anything. That was the hardest part of 7.5 years of training the same 2,000 people at Bam Properties. Is I'd be called back to train the same thing and the same thing and the same thing. It's like, am I really bad at this? Or are you really bad at receiving the message? Or what is it? And I'll tell you what it is. People, when they are not doing well, look for excuses, and it's anything but me. It's the sellers, it's the buyers, it's my area. Oh, if I had a better area, I would do better. No, you wouldn't. If you can't crack this area, you're not going to crack that area. The other agents are giving the commission away. Sellers are choosing agents who are over promising. I've heard them all. And
you've done 2,000.
Over and over and over. Nobody says, "Oh no, I'm the problem. I'm the problem," and you really are, because
it sucks if you are. I mean,
exactly.
It's a tough ball to swallow.
No, it's a vital one, because when you understand there's no silver bullet, there's no secret. There's never going to be. Nothing's going to change. That's going to give us a silver bullet in this industry. It's the same stuff and always will be. It's back to what I said right at the beginning. The number of people that you know, that like you and trust you. That's it. Grow that number.
100% that. And I mean, so I think Grant Gavin, I think. So he was my business coach. And then very similarly, I also had a period where I went from doing really well to switching areas with the intention of us moving to that area. Things changed. It was hard. I mean, I went from being very productive to not productive, to then moving back to the area I was productive. And then we looked at it to say, well, what do we need to do in order to claw back what was sort of missed and get to where, and it came down to like 5 phone calls a day. And when we said that, I didn't really want to believe it, because how can making 5 phone calls a day be so simple, and it's going to get you to this sort of major goal that you've set within a period of 6 months or whatever it was. But I did the calls. The only disclaimer was it's not just 5 phone calls, it's 5 new phone calls every day. Because again, you've got to scale it. And it happened. And it's incredible to think that it can be as simple as what it is, but you've got to just do the activities every single day. And what's nice about, I think, real estate is, as much as it's sort of monotonous in the sense that you've got to do the same activities, but every phone call is different. And you do get rejected. And you mentioned it. I don't know if you've ever seen it on YouTube. I watched him speak at a leadership summit. His name's Jia Zhang, and he did 100 days of rejection. If you haven't, you must watch that on YouTube. But it was things that were supposed to get rejected. So he set out 100 tasks every day. He recorded them. It was things like he knocked on someone's, or they can't really do it in South Africa, but he knocked on someone's door and he's like, "Can I play soccer in your backyard?" And the guy said, "Okay." And he's like, "Why?" And he's like, "It's so out there. How do you say no?" And it's things like, "Can I have $100 to someone?" And they're like, "No." He asked the policeman if he could drive his car, and the guy said yes. And he was like, "Okay." And the purpose was supposed to be, it was twofold. How many times does he get rejected before you get a yes? But the biggest thing was, you just have to ask. You've just got to, if you don't ask, you don't know. And if they say no, it's okay. But what he found was, instead of being rejected, supposed to 100 days in a row, I think it took like 5 days for someone to say yes. And he was like, "Well, what happens if I gave up on day 4?
Yeah. So you've hit on something very big there. Is the rejection is part of the game, and we hate it. Nobody digs rejection. It's Valentine's Day. Just think about how many people are getting rejected right now. Nobody digs rejection, right? We don't dig that stuff. And because we think we're going to get rejection, we think we're going to have a negative outcome, we don't do it. Which is why just 5 calls to 5 people that you don't know. Man, the average person listening to this is going to be like, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. And the reason they're saying it doesn't work is because they don't want to do it. And the reason they don't want to do it is because it's uncomfortable and it's hard work and they're going to be rejected. So they don't do it. And it's just not for me. It doesn't work. Okay. And then it's going, well, let's go and see that then. Let's go and test that theory. Yeah. And then they make one phone call. See, I got rejected. Okay. Let me try one more. Try one more. You see, Richard was wrong. Richard and Joe and I listened to that interview, that show was poppycock. Poppycock. Doesn't work for me. Because they're trying to find excuses because they actually don't want to do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is we don't ask enough. And here's a really, really good example. And it's exactly the same for me. So when I left Pam Golding to go out as a professional speaker, it was a spectacular. The first year was a spectacular failure. I earned on average 13,000 Rand a month.
And when was that? Sorry, what year was that?
2018. 2018. Okay. And so the second time I went into remission, I phoned up Andy Golding and I said, that's it, I'm done. And he's like, no, you're not. And we had a 3-month sort of argument of you're leaving, no, you're not leaving. And eventually he said, no, I actually need to let you go and do what I think you were built to go and do, which was really great. It was also really cool is that then there was a little bit of financial backing from a loan point of view, which really helped in that first year. Wow. So they were amazing, absolutely amazing to me. And so, 13,000 Rand a month. So you can imagine that kind of rejection, and you're used to earning a decent salary and as a minor profit share. It's really great, And I'm thinking, am I terrible at this? Am I a bad estate agent? And I realized it's identical. I'm selling myself. I'm the product. And you're if you're an estate agent, you're the product. The product isn't the house. That's the seller's house or the landlord's house. The product is you. It's a service. People are buying you. And it's the same with me. And I'm not going to use this product that I've never seen before. And I don't know this person before. I don't know them, like them, and trust them. I'd rather go and pick somebody I know. Same as real estate. So how do I become known? And that was hard. How to become known? And it was networking. And now a lot of it is social media. So Facebook and LinkedIn are my 2 biggest income sources. Yeah. But it's still the same thing. It's the hustle. And then what I realized is, as much as you say to people, hey, if you like the talk, if you like what I'm about, can you please refer me? And then nothing comes back. And you're like, well, why don't they refer me? It's because you're asking the wrong questions. And asking in the wrong way. It's be direct and say, Jared, before I leave, I just want to ask you, do you think you'd be prepared to refer me at all? Would you be comfortable referring me? And when you say yes, you say, okay, just off the top of your head, can you think of 2 people? Can you think right now, off the top of your head, can you think of 2 people who you think might want to host a talk or an event or they're in events? Just 2 people. And now I'm going to get a response that if the person has to go away and think about it and come back to me, never going to happen. So it's asking the right questions and asking them in a way that's going to get a good response. And it's the same thing with cold calling. Hi, it's Richard from Remax. I wonder if I could interest you in a free no obligation valuation of your home. No? Oh, okay. Well, can I please add you to my super duper pooper list of people that I spam with stuff until they die? Can I send you stuff until you die? No? Oh, okay. Thank you. Phone the next person. And then say, no, I'm getting rejected. Yes, because your script sucks. So it's that, and you can go really cheesy. You can phone people on Valentines Day and say, hey, can I help you fall in love with a new home? Don't do that. Don't be that person. Don't be that person. So, but it's coming up with a good script. What is that? Hey, I don't know if you noticed, but somebody on your street has just listed their property. Didn't list it with me, but it doesn't matter. Hey, and I've got some feedback about what they've said about your house. I mean, your street and your suburb. Maybe now's a good time to have somebody around to give you an idea of what your property is worth. Yeah. That's a little bit different. So, but again, you've got to do the work and do the people. Be rejected.
Well, it's incredible. It wasn't told directly to me, but it was told to a friend of mine that started at a different agency. And his mentor had been in real estate for forever and a day. He sold homes in our area when they were still registered as farms, and whatnot. So, but he said so what he did was, like anything, you've got to see the stock, you've got to know what you're selling. He was like, but you also have to look to see who might be thinking of selling. And so he asked the question, he was like, well, how do you know that? He was like, well, maybe they're painting their wall. Maybe they're painting the exterior of their house. And he said, why don't you pop a note in their postbox to say, just to let you know, It looks incredible, the color you're painting your house. Would you be curious about an up-to-date valuation? If yes, give me a call. If not, it's always nice driving past something neatly presented.
Yeah.
And he was like, Jared, can you believe it? And I was like, I can't, but I did it. I quite liked that idea. So I did. If I drove around, I kept notes in my car. If someone was landscaping or whatever, I'd be like, it looks fantastic that you adding to the value of your home. If you're ever curious, let me know. And not all of those ever turned into a direct sale, but what they did do was turn into a referral on the road. And it's just invested 2 minutes. Thank you letters are incredible. But we did a training when we first started. It was by Brian Buffini, and his thing was, oh, by the way, if you ever know anyone looking to buy or sell, I'm never too busy for your referrals. And then you got a script, and you said, practice it and say it. And like anything, you don't want to practice it because it sounds lame. But it must have been about a year afterwards where I sort of plucked up the courage to say, if you know anybody else looking to buy or sell, I'm never too busy for your referrals. And I was like, oh my God, Jared, I can't believe you just said that out loud. And they're like, well, actually, my sister's moving into our area. And I was like, what? And almost 99% of every conversation, and if it's appropriate, I'll say it. And that's how business is generated.
Correct.
Because you've got to the biggest one I found is when you start out, you've got to let people know that you're in real estate. Because if you don't, then how do they know to phone you?
So we can go back to that the number of people who know you, like you, and trust you.
Yeah.
So the number of people who know that you're an agent, like you, and trust you. So exactly that flow. But you've hit on two things that are really quite cool. So the first one is the asking for referrals with every single person, and the second one is the thank yous and acknowledging what they've done on properties. Again, know you, like you, and trust you. I like you. Why wouldn't I like you? You're saying thank you. I like you because you're complimenting me and you're not asking for anything in return. It's that stuff. So I used to, my first couple of years of real estate, we used to send out 10 or 12 different postcards per year. And they're really well done. And those are the days when post still worked. But none of them were a direct sell. None of them. It was just, hey, Jared, wishing you your favorite kind of day on your birthday. Richard, that's it. And I think sometimes you can, branding says you're an agent. You don't have to tell them that. In the beginning, yes, but not then. That's when you welcome people into the area, doing new registrations every single month, going around, popping off a little gift, saying, hey, welcome to the suburb. I know I didn't sell you the house, but I'm the resident agent here, and I just want to say welcome. Can I introduce you to some of your next door neighbors? It's those little things that just start that relationship. Because you, as an agent, you're only as successful with the number of people that you know, like you and trust you, and who prepared to become a brand ambassador. So every single one of those contacts, you need to start seeing in your head as a brand ambassador. This person's a brand ambassador. And in the same way that I'm a brand ambassador for various companies and various products, I get rewarded for that. I get product, I get whatever. So of course, then I will refer them on because there's something in it. So when I was still an agent, I had no issues paying 20% commission to a next door neighbor. That's what I'm going to pay internally in an office anyway. And a lot of people don't do that. I'll give them $1,000 or why should I give? They just handed me something. Reward people and tell them that. Tell them, like, hey, I give 20% of a deal. Who wouldn't like a bit of a cash injection just passing on some information?
Birthday, Christmas, holiday. It can go to anything. I mean, do you know what works exceptionally well? And it can be as small as a coffee and it can be as big as whatever you want it to be. And again, it came from a story from a training I watched. And I mean, it was you reward on the referral, not necessarily on the outcome. And a person also in the States, he had this guy who for many years just sent a referral because I think he gave like a $25 or $50 gift card or whatever it was. So the referrals came in almost every single time, like close to a particular date. So he had like the gift card ready because he knew, like, don't quote me, July 12th it's coming. And every referral was just to someone that was maybe thinking about it or not really, or not relative to real estate. Until he got a phone call to say, hey, I'm just letting you know my uncle passed away. Would you be interested in selling his real estate portfolio? And he was like, yeah, look, definitely. What is it? And it was like 132 apartment block, unit apartment block. So he was like, that $50 gift card just gave him
Paid for itself.
like a 500,000% return.
Yeah.
But it's because you're front of mind and you're the person that somebody feels they can trust when it comes down to it.
Exactly that. So on the back of that is it takes time, and I think that part is that we're impatient. We want things to happen now. We want sales now, and it isn't. It's the seeds that you plant, and the fact that on average people in your suburb and go and do those reports in your area. Go and figure out how long sellers actually keep their houses for and what age groups they are. And sometimes you see it's an older area where people have to be like 55 and 60 before they sell. They keep their houses for like 8 years and phone up the ones who've had them for 15 and say, hey, are you aware that you've been in this area double the time that average people are? Maybe it's time to sell. Whatever it is, just interesting. But and it's the same with me, right? So this last week was quite an interesting one in that I got 2 bookings in from people. The one was somebody who saw one of the first things I ever did. And he just attended and he was there and loved it. And now he's gone on his own and he is looking for coaching and a talk. I was like, oh my goodness, I've had no contact. He followed me on social media after that talk, and just social media, and that's all it was, putting myself out there. And the other one was a return client, and again, one of the first things I did way before COVID, and they've just come back, and now we're going to do something else, and you never know. And just when you think nothing's happening, some of the people that you dealt with ages ago or referred you or whatever it is, but that's right back to the never burn a bridge. And I think agents are also I know a couple of agents that are extremely litigious, that are very quick to, hey, we had an exclusive mandate. Now you've broken the terms of the contract. I want to take you to court and sue your ass. It's like, okay, I know you're hard done by and I'm really sorry, but that's part of the gig. And how you respond is going to determine what happens next. And I'm not saying just roll over all the time. But here's one of the best examples I can give you, and it's such an amazing story. So when Pam Golding in 1976 went into real estate, and there's a whole story around that as well. But it was exactly the same as most of us estate agents. Life happened, and all of a sudden, I need to find a job, and there it was. I'm going to become. I've always loved houses, always loved people. I should go into real estate, and she started working for a company called Cyfred's. And her manager there, I want to say John, but don't quote me. Let's just call him John. But anyway, about a year or 2 years, worked there, and then she left because people were saying, Pam, you should start your own company. But I mean, back in those days, so 1974 she went out. 1976 she started Pam Golding. But it wasn't called Pam Golding. She called it Charm Homes. And right up until when she passed away, when you used to tease her and say Charm Homes, she was like, oh no, but it's a perfect name for Pam and a real estate company, Charm Homes, because that's what it is. Remember, people who know you, like you, trust you. She's brilliant. She was absolutely brilliant at that. Anyway, so she leaves Cyfred. She starts Charm Homes, and but now obviously needing the money. The first deal comes through a little while later. A couple of months later, and she phones up John to say, hey, John, I need to come and see you. I've got something for you. And he said, well, Pam, what's this about? No, I'll explain to you when I see you. Went to go and see him. And now remember, this is the real estate. You've been a successful agent with this company and you've left to open up your own business and you're not competing with them, right? So for most of us in real estate, it's like daggers are out and putting down for sale signs and, all the sellers how terrible you are, and it's like that, right? She arrives at his office and says, "Here, I've got this check for you." Those are the days when people still got commission checks from the attorneys. Hands over this check. He says, "What's this for?" She says, "Well, the house that I sold was a house that I was working at when I was with you. When I left the manor with you, but when it expired, they got hold of me to say, 'Hey, Pam, we loved working with you. Would you be prepared to take it over?' And I did." And then the buyer was somebody that I was also working with at Cyfred's. And who actually could have bought the property, but anyway, has come along, and the buyer and the seller were both yours, and I feel this actually is yours, and I'd like to give you this check. I mean, who does that?
Who does that, yeah.
And then, many, many, many years later, now we're talking about 2012, thereabouts, having tea with Pam, and she's running a little bit late. And her amazing executive assistant comes in and says to me, and Sue says to me, Rich, Pam's just running a little bit late. She's coming from the hospital. And then there, Pam arrives. I'm like, Pam, are you okay? You've come from the hospital. What's up? She said, no, I'm fine. I went to go and visit a dear old friend of mine. We've always just stayed in touch. He's very sick and he's in hospital, and I went to go and visit him. I'm like, oh, who's that? No, it's John. So in my mind, one of the very best examples of exactly what real estate is, doesn't matter who the person is, doesn't matter what your previous relationship is with that person, doesn't matter the history, is how you treat every other person in your life will determine how they treat you. And your job as an agent is to make people feel important, make people feel heard, speak less, listen more. It's all about relationships and how you make people feel, which then leads us back to that. Just be yourself, be authentic.
Yeah.
And people will like you and trust you. And that's got to be your brand.
And the right people will like and trust you. And that's ultimately what you want. I mean, if I can only speak for myself, 99, probably 0.5, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less % of the time, sellers I work with are people I enjoy working for. Same thing with buyers. It's you can tell from the phone, okay, you maybe not going to be. And also, I've partnered with another agent in our area, so it's quite nice that we've got two completely different personalities. So when one doesn't maybe fit the mold, the other might. So that obviously, again, it's scale. I mean, you can now work with more than twice as many people, but it's very rare that you come across someone you don't want to work with. And that's because you attract what you put out is what you attract, and you attract the people that you enjoy. It's very similar to this podcast thing. We did it quite a lot during the initial lockdown. It started with just 4 of us. It ended up being hundreds sort of on a weekly Zoom meeting. We also got to hear from some incredible people around the world. And that's part of the reason I wanted to bring it back. I love networking. I love learning more. And if somebody can become inspired from it, not just myself, then that's the benefit you want. But you only message people that you genuinely want to have a good conversation with. And it's incredible, like yourself. You do this for a living. To say yes is unbelievable. I mean, I almost want to. I don't know what to say. I mean, sometimes when people reply, I'm like, "Ooh, okay, I didn't expect that," but I'm so glad that you did, and people do, because it's fairly almost at a loss for words. It's at the tip of my tongue. When it comes out, I'll just blurt it out. But yeah, I certainly appreciate it and appreciate your time. And with COVID and everything.
I'm just gonna jump in there and just say something before you move in a different direction and I forget it. So you said that we attract people that are like us. I agree with that. I really do. But I think there's more. I think that there is, if you're a really good estate agent like yourself, it is understanding how to get the best out of other people. It's understanding that people are different and being interested in people, taking an interest in people that aren't necessarily the same as us. So and it's how to bring the best out of other people. So again, it's your ability to match people. So I think it would be disingenuous for you to think that the people you enjoy working with your clients so much purely because you just found all the nice ones that are like you. I disagree. I think there are a lot of people that are not like you. I think that it's your ability with people, and that's the part of real estate that's almost impossible. In all my years of training, it's almost impossible. So, for instance, here's an example. I would do an induction or orientation, and I'd ask everybody to please stand up and tell me who you are, where you've come from, and what you did in the previous lifetime. And they would tell me. And just some of the job descriptions, and just even in that initial, when they introduced themselves to me, I could literally go back to a manager and say, that one's going to crack it, that one's not. Purely personality based. And that sounds a little bit harsh, but it really isn't. A real estate agent, I once read a book with 147 salespeople or something, different types of salespeople. And what a load of bollocks. You know, if I call you in for a job interview and I'm interviewing for an agent, do I sit there thinking, well, I'm looking for a type 17 and a type 131. I want Joe's 129, I think. I don't. No, there are two types of salespeople: people that are and people that aren't. And people that are people that got amazing EQ. people that have got personalities where they understand how to get the best out of other people. Yes, I've seen a couple of other of estate agents who aren't that, who don't have amazing EQ, and who just wear people down and are quite aggressive, and they kind of get ahead because they're just ambitious and hungry, and but they don't build a following, and they always have to get one new client because nobody else. And if they do refer them, it's just because they were good, not because they were nice.
Yes.
But it's the ability to have that emotional intelligence to build connections with people, to be liked, and just be naturally amazing with people. And I can tell you've got that. So it's not that you've surrounded yourself with the world's best client or clientele. It's because you're good with people. That's a gift.
Thank you. What I wanted to ask was, with obviously lockdown and COVID and all of that good stuff that sort of affected us all, what has it been like for you, where you would have had to pivot and everything went from being on stage and in person to, I mean, the first time I got to see you speak was just through a screen. What's that been like? And then now that you're sort of back to normal, do you enjoy a bit of both still? Because you get to, I mean, you can speak anywhere in the world now very comfortably. Or what's your sort of preference? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, cool question. So yeah, it was amazing before COVID. 2 weeks before COVID broke here in South Africa, I was celebrating because I was in remission for the third time. My partner Deborah had moved up from Port Elizabeth. I was living with somebody for the first time since I got divorced, like 8 years before then. And I was booked up, flying all over the world. It was just like, wow, I finally arrived as a speaker, and financially things looking great. Woo! And then hard lockdown. And in the first 3 days of hard lockdown, I lost literally 100%. This cat next to me, white. It was just every day, just taking off more names. And I sat there and looked at Deborah and I thought, this is our sole income. What are we going to do? There's no, but we still have this, or we still have that, or it's gone. How are we going to take care of next month? It was dire. And I think that's the same as anything in life. You're all in or you're all out. And I didn't have a choice. And I think that's, when we don't have a choice and our backs are against the wall, often that's the best thing, because we change things and we figure out what to do and we can become extremely creative. And so I was one of the first speakers to jump on the virtual.
Yeah,
I'd never heard of Zoom in my life before. I'd never used the platforms. And the first couple of talks, I sat down and then I realized that's not me. I'm not being authentic. And so I painted a little studio here, and I painted another one outside. Blackboard paint, and I put chalk on it, and I've become quite creative with the product. And literally I phoned up all the clients that I'd done business with, because I just knew intuitively I wasn't going to be able to phone up somebody I hadn't done business with before and say, hey, my name is Richard, I'm a speaker, you want to book me? We're not doing anything. We canceled all our events. Our people are at home. No thanks. I just phoned up all my previous clients and said to them, how can I help you? How can I help you? I don't even know what my product is. I haven't done this before, but I know I can help. And what do you need? And that was it. And then I think it's like all that stuff in the beginning is I did quite a lot of giving back. Like companies that were in a world of pain, like a previous client, Sumitomo Dunlop. They weren't manufacturing a single tire. All of their staff were on half pay, I think it was, all at home. They didn't know when they're going to be able to kickstart their business again. So I said, great, and we can't afford to pay you, Richard. So no problem. Let's just pay it forward and no expectation. And that was amazing because, and there were a couple of very important lessons from that. They ended up doing a trade and saying, Richard, when you need new tires for your car, just let us know what new tires are. Great, stunning. But what I learned there is that, number one, giving back is so important. Number two, when you do give back, nobody needs to know about it.
Yes.
Don't be that person. And a lot of real estate agencies do that. Oh, look how good we are. We're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing that. That stuff, it'll happen anyway. But the self-promotion, it got to the point where I actually felt a little, geez, Rich, you have to turn that down. And I'd speak to some of my friends and say, am I not putting myself out there too much, social media? And they would say things like, we haven't seen much. Really? No, I think you could do more. And I think that's something we don't realize is we put one thing out there and we think that everybody's seen it. Yeah. And you can put the same thing out there 7 days in a week and maybe everybody might see it. But you can almost not put too much as long as you mix it up. And as long as you try and be relevant, and as long as you try and, so I always try and post with this might help you, or this, think about this, or think about this differently. And so what actually happened there, Jared, it was phenomenal, is I was at that time, if not the most booked motivational speaker in South Africa, at least top 3, purely because I just put myself out there so much, and I was prepared to be negotiable, and I was prepared to give back, and and that was an amazing journey. So the cool thing about virtual is you can do a couple of gigs in a day, which isn't like live. So although people don't want to pay the same, which I don't quite get, because you're working a lot harder, you can't see your audience, so you're throwing your energy into the screen, and you've got no idea what's coming back. You're the tech guy, you're the sound guy, you're the video guy, you're the lighting guy, you're the prezzo guy, you're all of that in one, and you've got to hold this thing together on Wi-Fi. It's extremely hard, but they pay less. Now I've missed live. Live gigs are amazing, and now that a lot of them are coming back, and I did a conference last week, there was 4 days that I facilitated and emceed. How rad! But what you forget is how much time it takes, and the traveling, and away from home. So for the last 2 years, I've seen my girls more than I've ever seen them in their lives or my life before, because of COVID. So lastly on that, so it's been a wild journey, and it's been amazing. I do think that we're moving into a hybrid world, where some things, including some training, is actually better online. And you can have little short segments. You don't have to have a whole day of training. And sometimes, having 2 hours a week or an hour a week online is less disruptive. You lose less time. You can actually engage more depending on how good the trainer is and the tools that they're using. So I definitely think there's a benefit to some of it. And that the live events are amazing because we are engaging. But we are not going back to normal. There is no other normal. This is normal, and we are just creating a different normal. And I think that if I can urge you as real estate professionals, just with one thing, this idea of bouncing back, going back, I want normal, when is normal coming back, is a very, very dangerous, slippery slope. Number one, because you can't go back. So David, if you said to me, I just want to go back to normal, I will go. Nobody's stopping you. Go. Jared, why are you still here? Why have you not left to go back? Go back to yesterday. Cheers. Yeah. We can't go back. You can't go back to any, and it doesn't exist anymore. It's just in your head. And if you're still yearning for the great markets of 2003 and when commission was easy, and you can't navigate them now, right? And likewise, we don't know what tomorrow brings. So all we've got is today. And what can I do today to make sure that my outcome tomorrow is better, that my outcome, I have a better day today? And that means you've got to change something. Because if you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, well, Einstein says that's insanity. So without change, you can have no future, only a recurring past. So as a real estate professional, if you're wanting more sales, better sales, you're wanting something different, something has to change. And let me tell you what has to change. This, how you think.
Do you know what's crazy? Sorry, carry on.
No, that's it.
So when I started in 2015, I knew the buzz around the office was, 2014 was an incredible year. And then like halfway through the year, it obviously wasn't the same. And then like, last year was so good, this year is terrible. And for a little bit, or not terrible, but it wasn't as good. And for a little bit, I was like, shit, last year was so good. And then in about October, I spoke to someone, they're like, but Jared, you weren't even in real estate last year, so how do you know? Like, why can't this year be your best year ever? And why can't next year be better? And why can't the following year be better than that? And I was like, well, you're not wrong. touch wood. I mean, and again, a lot of it just comes down to activities. But every year has been better than the last, and some might not be because it's better financially. It might be better because something amazing's happened in my personal life. If I look at, I don't work fortune on a Friday, and that's a choice I've made because that's my family day. Because real estate consumes you sometimes on a weekend, and someone said, "But why?" And I said, "Well, I can't give any more time." And I'm not prepared to take away time from my wife and my daughter. While before she goes, if inevitably ends up at school, then things will shift and change. But Joe, you've hit the nail on the head, and you said it in your book. Although we're talking about the present and now, and you can't change that, but it's like your truth. My truth is my truth, and your truth is your truth. And until I'm prepared to adjust mine to possibly understand yours better, or find a middle ground where we can move forward sort of together, it's never going to change. And like you say, if you believe in newspaper advertising, and you're still doing it, but only 4 newspapers are in circulation, instead of the 400,000 when it was in its prime, you're going to lose it. But like you say, if you don't change it and don't adapt, you can't expect it to change.
Yeah. So we are not a product of our circumstances. We're not a product of what life has handed us. We're not a product of the market. We're not a product of the sellers, the buyers. We're not a product of any of that stuff. We are purely a product of what we choose to think, and whatever we think, we will become. So if you think you don't have to knock on people's doors, you said something in South Africa, you couldn't do that. Knock on somebody's door and say, "Can I play soccer in your backyard?" And I wanted to jump in there and say, "Are you mad? Why?" We've got this idea. Real estate agents have got this idea that we can't do knocking and dropping. We can't knock on doors because people have got massive big gates and electric fences and cameras and every reason why you should, because nobody's doing it. When was the last time an agent knocked on your door, tried to get onto your gate, or shouted across the wall, "Hello, hey"? When last did that happen? And what are you going to say? Sorry, bugger off. No, you're not. You're gonna. Who are you? Why are you knocking? Is what you're going to.
You'll become popular in the road security group.
You're going to be curious.
Yeah.
So it's such a gap, but we don't do it because we've got all the excuses. All the excuses in the world. That's it. So I challenge you, get out there and knock on some doors, damn it.
Do you know what's crazy? And I'm happy to say it because it's whether or not people do it. Do you know where a lot of our business comes from, or a lot of our potential business comes from? It's still just doing drops. And someone say, "Hey, guess what? You're getting a new neighbor. Hey, guess what? Another home's just listed. Are you curious about what your home's worth?" And it's amazing how many people pick the phone up to say, "Actually, we are curious." But like you say, it's a long-term game, because those guys that are curious today aren't necessarily ready to sell. They just want to know because they're ready in 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. And I say it often to anyone who's looking to start. It's a long-term investment in yourself, because you're the business. And it's easy to see the guy that's busy now, but ask them where they were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And it's exactly the same position. But the activities, the results always come. Hey,
exactly the same. If I look back at my first year in this gig, and I look now, amazing, but you've got to keep on doing the same things consistently and regularly. So it's again, so the power of a drops are great, but there's a way to put them on steroids. So if you think about it, and now we're getting fewer drops at our gates than I think I've ever had. And maybe Poppy's got something to do with that, but I don't know. But I think there's a big gap still. So even when I was still with Pan Golding, right? If drops came into my gate in the properties that I've lived in Johannesburg, I'll have, what is this? Oh, it's a property thing. Discard it. And even though I was in property, I might look at, okay, who's the brand and maybe who the agents. Discard. But when either a Pam Golding Properties one came up with an agent that I know, or there was another agent in the area that I knew, either they were with Pam Golding or I knew them for something, I would then look and, okay, what is this guy up to? What is she up to?
Yeah.
Because I've actually known them. So and I'm not unique. Anybody in the area that I live in now, if a real estate agent drop came to the door, unless I'm thinking of putting my house on the market, that little piece of paper is irrelevant to me, right? Unless I've met that person, I know them and I like them. I'll look at it, I'm like, hey, Jared, oh, that's cool. I'll even remember what Jared sounds like. I'll remember when last I saw Jared. Now that thing is reinforced how many more times, and I'm more likely to take action. In other words, if you want your drops to work, get to know people. They don't just work on their own. Same with the for sale signs. Same with any other branding or marketing or anything else you're doing. Works so much better when I know who you are. Then yours jumps out at me. And that is the part of real estate that it's never been easy to sell a property without you. It's never been easier for somebody to stay in their home, not have to deal with you. But why do they want somebody? I want somebody I trust because this thing is too big. Become that person.
We're in an era where a personal brand matters more than the reputation or the power of the brand that the agency holds, because it's like you say, it's so easy to do everything by yourself, but you can't, because private sellers make up maybe 1% of our entire market in my area, and it's because when they assume the role of an agent, it's at face value and online, it's very easy. What they don't see is the hours that need to go into it, the handling phone calls, finding the people. They don't have the database, the network. And then they turn to the people that they most familiar with, maybe without being familiar with them. And who can they trust to now sell their asset, but manage their emotions, work to their time. And that's why you'll notice, I also believe, just with agencies who put more power and growth behind their own agents' identities and brands, are the ones that thrive, because that's where agents want to work. And the minute you work there and you're empowered and you grow, you want to stay there because your business is great, your personal brand is fantastic. It's this huge sort of ripple and knock-on effect that's positive for everyone. Although I'm not with Remax anymore, they had a great saying. It's like, when we win, or when you win, we win. And that's what they sort of work by. And I think every office, without having the same slogan, offers exactly that. Because if you're not
it really does. So this idea, and I saw this at Pangolding, is there's obviously a big thing about the brand, and South Africa's premier real estate brand, and that is true through marketing. It's an extremely, extremely powerful marketing machine, but it doesn't matter. I'm still not going to phone Pangolding Properties. Maybe if I live in Kansas and I'm wanting to go up in, and I think who the top agencies I need to phone, but otherwise, no. The first phone call is somebody that I know. If I don't know somebody, I ask people. I say, hey, and people are putting it out there on Facebook. What am I looking for? I'm looking for someone. Does anybody know somebody that they know, like, and trust, that they're prepared to refer across to me? And only when I luck out, nobody can find me someone they know, then maybe I look for
brand.
Then
you might default to Google and type in Westfield Estate Agencies.
Exactly. So it's all about who I know, right? And then the last thing is that, so with all respect to you, Jared, if I don't need you, I need you because of your contacts and your clientele and your well, yes and no. So I'm going to say that has changed, because the portals have leveled the playing field. That pretty much anybody who's a buyer now has registered on the portals, and they're getting a ping whenever a new property registers or is listed on the portal. So whether you are Tom, Dick, and Sally agents, whether you are Jared, whether you are Sherlock Holmes, which I think is still the best name for a real estate company ever. But anyway, you're going to get all the buyers. You've got all the buyers. So gone are the days where we had this little Rolodex of all of our private buyers that nobody else has. That's gone, long gone. Yes, you do have people that you're working with. Yes, you do have people that you work with before, for sure. I don't discount that. So in that, no challenge there. But to the private seller, that person has got that entire network of every single buyer out there who's listed. They've got that same network. Why are they still not selling their own properties? It's how you list the property. It's the price you list the property. And unfortunately, or fortunately for an agent, the minute a seller lists it privately, they've lost the that gap between full asking price and what market value is,
Possibly, yeah.
because
Especially
any
if they
buyer
discount their home, yeah.
that's negotiable. And I'm not paying top dollar because there's no commission involved here. So I think there are a couple of factors, but I think the fact that and this is maybe a conversation for another time because it's a long one, but I think that agents are doing it wrong by listing properties on the portal straight away, because you're listing it at the wrong price. Because let's be honest, 98% of the properties listed on the portals are listed at the wrong price. You're listing it at the wrong price. 85% of all the people who are ever going to be attracted to this property view it in the first 48 hours. They all play Tinder with the property and swipe left, because the picture, the hero shot, and the age and the price, like exactly the same as Tinder, those two things don't match. I look at this and I look at that, I'm like, swipe left, and they're gone. And then the agent goes back to the seller to say, okay, so we, the first 3 weeks we've had 3 people who viewed your home. No, they hadn't. They didn't. They haven't had 3 people view the home. They've had 600 people that viewed the home. Only 3 of the people who viewed the home said we actually want to
came through the door. Yeah,
they've actually all viewed it. Why aren't we counting those viewings? But more particularly, why are we placing the product on the shelf at the wrong price? We're doing it as agents, driving the seller's price down, because it's purely a curve that says price versus time, and time is going to penalize your price. I couldn't care how long you tell me you've got. Time penalizes your price. But who started that game? The agent. And the agent's going to say, no, but because the seller told me to. What?
You're the professional, yeah.
Sorry, I don't get that. Does that happen in any other industry where we don't try the price before we place it we don't test the price, we just put it on the shelves, any other product? And then what do we do when it's the wrong price? The only way we can get this product sold is, hey, everybody, buy the price of one. Well, why are we? So my very real question to probably practitioners is, why are you doing it like that? Why do you do that? Why do you play this game of wrong price, penalize seller's price, and then still try and negotiate your commission because you did a great job? No, you didn't. You're the prime suspect in dropping the seller's price. Yeah. You're the reason the seller's getting less money, because you don't understand how to.
It all comes back to, were you honest when you told the seller the price? Was it because you told them a little bit more because you knew 3 other agencies went through and you had to win the mandates, and you hope that they're going to be with you long enough so that there is this adjustment period to where you should have been? Or it's just this default, I think, thinking that this is what you were told. If it comes on and it doesn't sell, you just got to drop the price until it does. And that's the only thing that can be adjusted. It's not, you can't invest more in marketing to find the buyer because you didn't find them here or your database didn't hold them. And I agree, this could be a conversation which excites me, because marketing the homes is what I really love. I love working with sellers, and the stats behind it. It's things like, where are the views? How's the market reacting? So 99% of the time, we at the moment, maybe not 99%, we will do the stats as our year ends at the end of Feb, so we can start assessing everything again and get our percentages of listing to selling, etc. But the reality is, the better you price, the less negotiable it is. I also think agents are scared to say to a buyer it's not negotiable, because they don't want them to run away from them. And there's power in it. It's like, again, any training, when a seller asks you about commission, you say, Mr. Seller, the less if I'm prepared to negotiate my fee now, how likely am I to negotiate a good sale price for you? Maybe you'll never say it in those exact words, but if you hold your value, you're going to hold the property's value, and you're incentivized to get the seller the best price, the least amount of hassle, for the most amount of money, and the shortest amount of time. But yeah, I could definitely ramble on for a long time, because you see it, and again, it depends where you are at, and this is where you've got to value the relationship over the transaction, because as long as you're honest, as long as you give good feedback and consistent feedback, analytic feedback, not just we've had no viewings. Why haven't you had any viewings? Is the home so specific that you're looking for this 1 in a million buyer? Are you overpriced? And is it because you're prepared to try it at X? And if it doesn't work, then do you adjust? Our favorite is pre-market viewings, because, like you say, if we're working with a lot of people, we've got a very active database. In our particular climate in the market we're in, there's more buyers than there are sellers. And you get to get this real-time feedback that if none of those buyers do buy it, and they are prepared to pay X or Y, you've got this valid feedback from educated people. So then when you do launch, you can adjust before you have to adjust. Like you're testing the market.
Correct.
But yeah.
So you're testing the market, number one, which is absolutely imperative. I think any agent who doesn't do that, it doesn't deserve to be an agent. And then number two, you get to sit in front of your seller and say, hey, the market has spoken. The market has spoken. Because I'm taking my best buyers through. I'm taking the buyers that have seen everything, haven't found what they're looking for, and are waiting. And I'm creating a fear of loss with them. And it's that fear of loss that is actually the most important part of the entire exercise. Is, Jared, hey, I've got this property. Shh, it's not on the market yet. There's no for sale sign outside. It's not on the website. In fact, the seller hasn't exactly settled on a price yet. So I'd actually like to ask your opinion. To come in and give me an idea of what you think this property is worth in the market. And if you are keen, and we can try and put an offer in, can't guarantee it because we're still sitting on the fence a little bit. But that's your best chance of getting the highest possible offer in. And the other thing I said to agents is, at what point after listing the property on the portals do you know that the price is wrong? And they'll tell me things like, oh, after the first month. So I'm like, are you mad? Are you mad? After the first 48 hours. After the first 48 hours, price is right or price is wrong. And why are you not telling your seller that? Because in 48 hours, I need to be sitting in your lounge and saying, Jared, we're in trouble. The market has spoken. Remember, this is what I said might happen. It's happened. But agents don't want to do that because they feel that they somehow owe the seller more, like feedback. Nobody's come to the property. Oh, I don't want to give feedback. That's the best possible feedback. That's the best feedback. Is, hey, nobody came to the house this week. We're in trouble. But they don't want to do that because they think the seller's looking at them saying, what's wrong with you? You're really terrible at what you do. Anyway, this is a long conversation, this.
Absolutely. But yeah, Richard, I know I've taken up more time than expected, which is always amazing. But I really, really appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to your day and on to Valentine's Day. I really appreciate it, and I hope we can do this again soon. We can go back and forth around listing, pricing, feedback, etc. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for hosting me. I really appreciate it, and enjoy your Valentine's. And to everybody listening, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Good luck out there.
Thank you. Cool. Cheers, Richard.
Cheers.